Okay, so the Evil Dead game has been out for almost a week now, and I've been having an absolute blast with it. I think it's really well made. It really does capture the Evil Dead in a video game, which is really cool. The characters, locations, enemies, it all feels really nice. But over the past week, I've seen a lot of people being new to the game. Obviously, the game just came out, and then obviously a lot of people have been making videos on it online, and people are wanting to play the game, and with good reason. The game is really, really good. So what I thought I would do today is, now the game's been out for a while and I've had some pretty extensive amount of time with it, to make a video giving you some advice, maybe some tips and tricks to have a better performance when you're playing as a survivor. If anyone wants one of these videos for demons as well, I can do so, but because I play with friends, I more so play survivor, so for me, this is kind of my main role in the game. So without any further ado, I'll go over some basics, I'll go over some advice and some tips, and hopefully they'll help you be a better survivor and not suck at the Evil Dead, the game. So without any further ado, let's go for it. First and foremost, I think I have to say this more than anything else, this is a team game, okay? I'm not saying it's impossible solo, it's very dependent on how good the demon player can be, but playing as a team is a key to winning, okay? Staying together benefits you because there's more of you around. There's more weapons used, that means, so there's more guns around, there's more melee around, and it also helps with the fear meter as well. And the fear meter in this game is something to keep an eye on. Whether you're outside or by yourself, it does go up, and if it gets to a certain point, there's a little marker on the bar underneath your HP. The demon player can possess you and control your character, basically meaning he can attack your teammates, and then the only way to get out of it, if you don't have a certain character in your party, is to be shot at or hit. And that can cause you to die and lose a lot of HP, and therefore waste a lot of healing supplies. So you want to keep that fear meter down as low as possible. There is perks and skill trees for basically every character to reduce the amount of fear you gain over time, but in other ways to kind of reduce that is to stay as a team, because it goes up slower. Stay indoors when you can, it does decrease it. And there is like fire lanterns around the map you can use that make it drain completely, and you need matches to use those, so find matches and use those, and that will cover your whole team as well. But yeah, keep that fear meter down and stay as a team. Do not try to solo this game. It is possible, but it's very, very difficult. Next up is to kind of fit each role into your pie, okay? So one thing about this game is you can't have duplicate characters, okay? So if you pick a certain character, no one else can play that character, they are locked out. And there's plenty of characters to choose from, but groups of them sit in different categories, okay? So you have leader classes, hunter classes, warrior classes, and support classes, okay? Of course, they all have their unique abilities to help your team kind of perform better. And what I would say you do is try, if you can at least, to have one of each of those, because they do benefit you quite well. For example, the main character I play is Ash from the Evil Dead 2, who is a hunter class, and he has 2 perks that are really helpful. First of all, you can see supply drops through walls. I'll get to supply drops in a minute, but you can see supply drops through walls. That means you know where they are, you know the variety of them, and you can mark them for your team. And it also has an exorcism ability, and this basically allows you to either perform an exorcism on a possessed player on your team, or a possessed demon, and it will cleanse them immediately, and they won't be possessed at all. Very useful, especially when you're in like the final stages of like defending the dagger or the map. It does help with keeping the demon from being able to possess everything around you, because you can just do that one ability and it will cleanse it immediately, and it can be a bit of a nuisance to them as well. The cooldown is quite long, but if you use it at the right time, it's really worth it. Other characters, support wise, I would probably say Cheryl Williams is probably the best one, mainly because she has a healing like aura she can put down on the floor. Healing is a limited supply in this game. It all depends on finding like cans of cola around the map. And you have a limited amount you can carry, so having her on your team to heal everyone in a radius is really good as well. And then warrior wise, I would say probably Henry the Red is probably one of the best ones, because one of his abilities makes him basically invincible for a few seconds. Them few seconds can be something that makes or breaks the team at certain points in the game, so having him not be able to die is very, very useful. So yeah, what I would say to do is make sure you have a diverse amount of characters that fit each role in your team. It all depends on who you want to play really, but make sure, you know, if you see, like, if you're getting a team of randoms and there's 2 hunters, try and play a different class just to help them a little bit. I would always recommend Cheryl if you really are stuck for playing a character that isn't picked yet, because again, that healing rift is really useful. So let's talk about supply drops now we're on the topic of them. So supply drops are scattered around the map and can provide you with weapons of any kind of rarity, healing and amulets, which are shields, as well as a drink that drops called Pink F. Now Pink F is really important for your character in the game. This is basically upgrade points. The more you pick up, the more upgrade points you have, and you can use these in a match to upgrade your character in that match. I believe there is a health stat one, there is a melee damage one, a range damage one, a shield one, a stamina one, and a fear one. You can put points into each of those categories throughout the game, and you can max them all out if you find enough of the Pink F juice. It really helps to have a lot of those upgrades acquired, even all of them if you can, because it just makes your character stronger and a bit more kind of capable, I would say, in a match. So definitely try and have those kind of found immediately, as early as you can, get as many as you can, because it will help you early on to get a good head start. Again, I use Ash from Evil Dead 2 because he has the ability to kind of see those boxes through walls, and that means you can mark them for your team. And speaking of marking, here's probably my next bit of advice. Next up, ping everything you see that is of use. Okay, ping everything. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's ammo for a shotgun, ammo for a handgun, special ammo, amulets, colas, supply drops. Ping them for your team. You don't know what weapons your team is carrying, especially if you're not talking to them. You don't know what they need or what they don't need. Don't hog everything you see. Like if you have like 2 heals and 2 shields on you already, maybe kind of ping those for someone else, because maybe they don't have any. Keep an eye on your teammates' stats on your screen. Obviously you can see their HP. You can see their shield count, which is the blue bar above the HP. So maybe if you see one and they don't have a shield, or you see one and they have like half health, ping that stuff, help them. And also, if you find a better tier weapon, think about the characters that are on your team, and if they're better with that certain weapon, and just give it to them. It'll help your team perform better at certain points in the late game, because the late game is very difficult, and you do need a team that's very well equipped and ready to deal with what is thrown at you, because it is a lot near the end. Another thing I see a lot of people do, and I would really recommend to kind of not do it as much, is vehicles. Now, I didn't know this immediately, so this is something I learned after a few days play. Whenever you get in a vehicle and start driving, if the demon player is obviously a player-controlled adversary, because obviously there is a PvE and a PvP side of the game, but if it's a player-controlled enemy, they'll be notified that a vehicle is being driven, and it will show them on the minimap where it is. So what I would really suggest you do, especially early on while your team's getting set up and stuff like that, is walk as best you can. Do not take cars as kind of often as possible. If you need to take a car, if you're really far away from the next objective and you can't really get there from walking, then do so. But it is a risk-reward type thing with a car. If you think you can handle what's thrown at you, then by all means drive. But from my experience and playing it with a friend, we have a lot more of a successful match, especially in the first half, where we just walk to the objectives. And it is RNG based, I guess, because the random locations where the map pieces are determined at the beginning of the game. So you could start in right next to the first one, or you could start in on the other side of the map to the first one, and that does kind of throw a spanner in the works a little bit. But do not use a car constantly, because they are alerted to your presence all the time. So yeah, one thing I would also say is, at the points where you have to kind of cleanse the dagger and cleanse the book, they get banished when you finish that, and it basically throws the demon player to the other side of the map. Do not get in a car immediately after that, because they might not exactly remember where that was, so they have to find you again. And again, at the beginning of the game, like, the demon doesn't know where you are. At the beginning of the game, they have to find you, so don't get in a car straight away, because they're alerted to you immediately. My final tip is just kind of, learn the character, learn the game. There's tutorials, there is kind of PvE options for the game you can use. Take the time to kind of figure out what character you want to use most, and then figure out which weapons work for them, and how their abilities will help you in your gameplay. Even play some rounds as a demon and see how it works, see how they kind of play and what they do, and then you'll kind of know what's coming when you're playing a survivor, especially if it's a certain demon type that you always see. For instance, I always see the Puppeteer in my games, which is the lightning one, very, very regularly. So knowing what he can do, knowing, kind of how his abilities work and what he can summon is really useful to know, because you'll know what they're going to throw at you. So take some time on both sides of the coin, play survivors, play demons, and figure out, a game plan for what will happen when you get put against a certain demon. But yeah, that's kind of my overall advice for the game, you know. It's a fun game. It's a very, very fun game, actually. I'm pleasantly surprised with how well it is. To be fair, I think for the most part, it's quite balanced. It all depends on, again, the skill of the demon player or the skill of your teammates as well. But if you have a good team that sticks together, has basically all the roles fleshed out, and uses their abilities regularly and when necessary, these chances are you'll probably win, as long as the demon's not that great. Again, player skill is something that's random as well. So you could play against a really good player, you could play against a really bad player, and, you know, that is something that you can't help. But yeah, I have a blast with the game. I will make more content on the game in the future, streams, videos, stuff like that. I will make a Demon video at some point if it's wanted. Again, I don't play Demon that much. I think I've played like a handful of Demon games and won like 3. So I don't play it as regularly as Survivor, but if that is something you want to see, let me know. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Any other tips you have for anyone, leave them in the comments, and I'll catch you all in the next video.